Hello and welcome to Fridays at 4 on twitch.tv/DDOstream. I'm your Community Manager Cordovan, and with me this week we have got a special guest. Our executive producer Severlin is here. How you doing, Sev?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing good. We are just full of news and announcements this week because we announced earlier this week that next Wednesday, we're going to be opening up Cormyr for free access. So not just VIPs for a period of time here through April 15th. Everyone's going to get the chance to check out Cormyr. So I've got Sev on to talk a little bit about it, and we'd be happy to answer any of your questions, both about this and about anything else that's on your mind for today's Fridays at 4. So welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. So what's the deal?
Are we going right into Cormier?
Yeah.
Is that the deal?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're opening up Cormier to other people who want to try the event. Cormier won't permanently become a free server, but for the time being, our goal is, I know it seems strange, but our goal is to get a lot of people in there because I'm pretty proud of the team. They worked really hard, and we had some unexpected issues that didn't come up in our load testing, both on hardware and software. Those have been fixed, and so some people that kind of peeked into Cormyr early, I think, will be pretty pleased when they return and see the performance. People have been doing good reports, but we want to see that now at higher numbers of people doing a lot of content, right? Like Cormyr is not at the numbers that it was when we first launched because a lot of people have finished like some cool mounts and stuff. The other thing I feel bad about is Cormier has a aspect where you lose your lantern if you get one of the. They're not called hardcore lanterns, but I refer to them as such because that's the vibe. But there are lanterns that if you die, the lantern is destroyed, and that was when it was lagging. It's just too dangerous. It's already bad enough from just internet lag and normal mishaps in DDO. So I think that some people who abandon the option of getting those can kind of revisit that with the new server. And so we're excited about that as well. So
Oop, I just lost you real quick on video. Here we go. I had to call up a web page. I accidentally lost you for a second on video.
Oh, that I didn't think that was my fault.
No, that one's me. It's because I'm doing hacky stuff with Windows, so window capture. All right. So basically, this all starts then when we bring the worlds up from our Wednesday downtime next Wednesday, January 22nd.
Yeah.
When the worlds reopen, Cormier is going to be open to everyone. It is a fresh start server, so you're not bringing over any characters from any place else. You're starting fresh here on Cormier, and you're going to be able to keep doing that until we bring the game down on Wednesday, April 16th. So through April 15th, you'll be able to do this. After this point, VIP is going to be coming back into Cormyr. That is the plan for it. And you're not going to be able to take your character from Cormyr at the end of this event. They're just going to stay there for
absolutely.
now. Yeah. We are doing some bonuses. We talked to you a little bit about that in the announcement, but I think we're ready to say it's going to be a boost to the Lantern reward rate.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So how's that work? It's just like you just get X amount % more?
Yep. I don't want to commit to a percent right now because I think that they're still going back and forth and measuring on that, but it should be pretty sweet. You should be able to catch up on there. No, there won't be a new set of lanterns. From our metrics, most people didn't do everything. So if you got through every single lantern up to now, good for you. Like you are one of the few and the proud if you have no lanterns left.
Speaking of bonuses, though, the other piece to Cormier that I wanted to get out there at this initial section is we're going to be doing a rolling short-term way to get all the stuff from Year of the Dragon. So until we get to wherever we are now, which I think should pretty much coincide. But so week 1, next Wednesday, you'll be able to get the first month's reward, second week, second month's reward. You'll be able to speak to that NPC for that week and claim a reward if you don't have it yet. If you already have it, you're not going to get a second copy. But if you don't have it, you can get it now. This is your chance.
Yeah, if you've missed any months or it came back and you're like, what's the Year of the Dragon? Now's your time to catch up. You can jump on that and like get that sweet. I know that there's a sweet mount in there that I want. So yeah, that's great.
The final piece then is next Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be having a dev chat in Cormyr, on Cormyr. We're going to have a dev chat join channel, basically a private chat that we set up similar to what we do on Lamania. And we're just going to be hanging out with people and get your feedback and just chill with you on a Friday night. So Friday evening.
Absolutely.
You can find all this information on DDO.
There's a lot of questions coming by too.
Yeah, there are, and we're going to get to that too. All right.
Yeah.
I don't know your question about Caneth crafting or the Shifter Magic Fang. I'm sorry.
All right. What are the thought processes behind allowing non-VIPs to create characters and collect loot, but having no way to get those things onto playable servers when the VIP only requirement comes back? Eventually, the person who gives out rewards will be turned on normal servers, and you'll be able to claim them. And now, if you're asking about whether characters will transfer off, yes, eventually we will turn on transfer off of Cormier. Year of the Dragon is our in order to celebrate Dungeons and Dragons anniversary. We have a reward every single month through February, actually, and there's some pretty cool stuff in there.
We've spoken about this in other venues, but it's worth bringing this up here. This is a question from Vidi Whoopsie saying, basically, what does it mean to move to a 64-bit server? What's better about a 64-bit server?
Oh, that's a pretty good question. So it's all about memory space. Our old servers are based on old 32-bit technology, and what that means is that the memory that they're using is done in a very small area. And all of this code runs essentially on a 64-bit platform, and it has to translate the memory usage from what the 32-bit server is asking for to the 64-bit server. And more importantly, a 32-bit server, because it only has 32 bits to track memory, has a very small a relatively small memory space that it can use. 2 gigabytes, or if you use extended memory, 4 gigabytes. In other words, when it's running, it just can't allocate more memory. That means that some other technologies that we've been working on hard don't work on a 32-bit server. For instance, one of the reasons that Cormier is more performant is because it takes a whole bunch of code that defines characters' feats and characters' abilities and even the effects on the weapons, and it caches it into memory so it doesn't have to read it through disk. Because one of the slowdowns on the 32-bit servers is if you load into a new server and all of your sweet loot is not loaded in, it takes time to go, oh, I need to put that into memory, and do I need to get rid of stuff? None of that has to happen on Cormier. The extra memory of the hardware that we've added in, the extra, hardware behind the scenes that's just faster, our new servers can use all of that. And what it means is that there is a lot of lag, and especially in the higher end game, where people run into areas and it just causes spikes. The other interesting thing about the 64-bit servers is we can take areas and we can pin them to specific parts, specific subservers, so that when you're running dungeons, you won't ever get interrupted by laggy public areas, for instance. So one of the problems, if you're running a dungeon, you might be sharing the area with something that is really performant, like a public area or an airship. Cormier doesn't have that problem because all of those are pinned to their own servers. And so what ends up happening is the dungeons just run smoother. Occasionally, still think there are things that can cause small lag spikes, but from what we've seen in our performance data and anecdotally from players is the Cormier experience is much better. We just don't see these perf warnings over and over. So what we're trying to do is, because of that, with our new technology, we want players on, basically on that technology in order to not lag. Um, so all of those things kind of just bring a better experience. And one of the reasons that we're opening up Cormier is we want another burst of players to come in and play so that we can watch our performance metrics once there's a lot of players in the game basically competing for resources. We feel that the server will hold up fine all the way up to the queue, but we want people to jump in and start playing in order to look at that. Because we wouldn't want to continue moving towards servers unless that we were sure that like it's going to provide a good experience for the players at the other end. I hope that explained it.
Yeah.
Does it have impact on interacting with the bank or TR cache? Yes. It does. The master server, in the end, with the new 64-bit technology, will be more performant. It already is, but we have even more technology helping that even more. But also, when you open up your bank, not only does it take time to bring that information to the front, but all of those items need to get loaded from the disk if they're not already there. So that can also cause a slowdown.
I can answer the question from Johnny about when Myth Draenor will be going to the DDO store for points. In our FAQ, we said that elements of Myth Draenor would go a la carte in the DDO store for points in January. That is still the case. That means within the next couple of weeks it'll happen. I'm not able to pre-announce a sale, but it'll be very soon here before the month is up that you will see the various parts of the FAQ in the DDO store there, and I've got the list somewhere, but it's the Magic of Myth Draenor content, Eladrin character race, the Chaos Mancer iconic, Wild Mage archetype, +3 racial action point tome, and the 2 to 3 upgrade tome for racial action points.
How much more memory do you get compared to the 2 gigabyte from 32-bit? Well, that's a complicated thing because, quite frankly, we can't afford to put enough memory that one of these servers can use the entire memory thing. Like, in other words, 64-bit gives you so much memory that jamming enough physical memory into the blades in the data center isn't really feasible. So essentially, you see a large amount, but all we need is enough to get that caching working, and everything else beyond that is kind of wasted. It just wouldn't be used. So it's not a memory of how much you can use, it's a memory of how much do we need. We are not, we have nothing. So we want to bring the 64-bit technology to worlds that will allow transfer so that you can move your current characters onto those worlds at some point. Like there's no world where all of our 64-bit servers will exist and all your characters will be trapped on 32-bit servers. You don't have to worry about that. That's one of the reasons that we're working on the transfer tack. Right now, transfer is like 95% good, but there's a few items that can't transfer and guilds can't transfer. Before we open up new servers, we have to fix that. And my engineers are currently working on that right now, in fact.
To the question about whether the lantern spawns and mechanics will change, the answer to that is no. The event will continue through April 15th. It's a side part about this announcement, but it is in there as well. The Lanterns in the Mist event will end it's running through April 15th, after which point the Lanterns in the Mist event will come to its natural conclusion.
Yeah. I think the only thing we're fixing is that there's still a bug where bosses on Elite were giving slightly less, and that should be fixed soon.
So, someone is asking about how set in stone the current state of the Dragon Disciple is. There's a reason on the forums it's called an early look forum feedback thread. We haven't even gotten to Lamania with the Dragon Disciple yet. So, we'll be doing that soon, and there'll be further iteration before it goes live.
Yeah. Will we go to Sigil at some point? At some point, I think that there is a chance we'll go to. No promises. It all depends on you know, how our roadmap goes and what happens. But we're not blocked from doing Sigil. It's just a matter of what do most of the players want, I think, is the thing. Is a renewed UI in this year's roadmap? What you mean is, do we need to do some changes to go to 4K UI? Yes, that is something that we are currently working on, and we're trying to get extra engineering resources online to work on that. It turns out that finding people that can do that and the artists to help do that is challenging. The reason that the renewed UI has not gone forward is because I've had all of our engineering hands on deck doing performance. They've been working on performance hard for almost 2.5 years on some of this technology. Cormier came in, and there was a lot more work to do to figure out this hardware problem and this software problem that we ran into with the hirelings. And so all of that was on hold while we got you performance service. And I know that's it's a hard decision to make, but I think it was the right one. I think that was our number one issue, was getting you that thing. So many stuff has gone by. But yes, the UI stuff, we're currently working on getting the resources for doing that, and maybe having some scaling on some of the stuff so that, you know, we're not all squinting at our screens. We probably won't be improving verticality on quest maps. That's not on the radar right now. I would love to do that, but it isn't. But it is something I will bring up to the team that will require. See, the problem is that that's not just a tech issue. If we change that, we would basically have to go back to every single quest in the game and redo the quest maps. And I just don't like that. That would take so much work that I don't know that improving verticality of quest maps, as you know, 4 months of work of the whole team, and making that the only update thing would be particularly loved by people.
I have a question I think we can answer, and this one comes from ApocalypseDom. I think we've managed to find ourselves where we haven't actually said this yet, but when will the next raid be released?
The raid is coming. One of the nice things about this event is that it ends with a raid. And so as you get closer to the end of the lantern thing, it will lead into a raid that kind of gives more and explains more about the lantern event. And so that is on the horizon and should be coming to Lamania at some point.
Mhm.
Githyanki will not be the next race. I would love to do Githyanki, but it is not the next race. The next race will be something that is thematic for where we're going for the X-Pack.
To answer your question, Big Deeps, my understanding is the raid will be released everywhere. It's just relevant to the story of the Lanterns in the Mist.
Correct.
We're not going to make it. You can play it wherever. It's fine. So
yeah, we're not going to block people from doing the raid. We will have an adventure pack coming in the spring. Yes, we're working on that currently. Oh, we also have I mean, I don't want to reveal too much because we have a producer's letter coming soon.
I've been busy myself this week and haven't really caught up on the latest of that. Have you seen anything from that this week?
From the
producer's letter, where we're sitting on that? I know it's in process, so
it's in process.
Yeah.
I would expect it soon, but it's still January. I'd love Githzari. Like doing Githzari monks would be cool. I would expect the letters before, certainly before the middle of February, maybe even within the January timeframe. But like, there are a couple of things going on behind the scenes on DDO that's taking up the team's time, and that's basically the delay.
Can we talk a little bit about why on the monk changes? We have someone in chat who really enjoys the old combo system, which is one of the pieces that we're changing pretty dramatically here with our next update. So,
Sure. So, thematically and at low level, I like the monk combo system too. However, there's a couple of problems with it. One is that the combos just aren't worth it most of the time. The actual finishing move isn't done. But what we're finding is that as you get higher level and the combat gets faster and everyone is blowing everything up, it takes so long to do the combos that the combos hitting even at a higher damage when we were playtesting just weren't satisfying because half the time, half the group you're hitting is dead by the time you do combos. And when we do raids and you're building up your combos, it's kind of frustrating when you have to move away from the boss and then come in to deliver your combo and that. So we went back and forth with the players and the player council looking back and forth. And there are some people that like the combo system, but most of our players, from what our playtesting happened and from the feedback, don't really make good use of the combo system because the game just gets too fast for it. And so at the high end, we were like, well, instead of trying to go and do this, let's move some of the cool combo moves more into a cooldown system in the trees so the players can use them on demand instead of picking them up when they really are meaningful, rather than trying to go into um, this DPS thing. Because one of the things about so let's talk about DPS chains. One of the things about DPS mini games is it's very effective for games that aren't quite as action combat as DDO. I mean, Lotro, WoW, the DPS mini games means that you're not just doing the same button on the boss over and over again. I think for games like that's important. For DDO, however, having because it's action oriented and things change so fast, I'm not saying the other games don't change fast. High level rating in WoW is still challenging. But because it changes so fast, having an on-demand system where you can bang out those combos as part of the tree is kind of the move we were moving in, rather than having to build up and maybe miss your opportunity to do that when something was going. So there's a big, hard discussion behind the scenes going on about like, okay, do we want to try to cling to the system, or do we want to move in a direction that favors the faster combat? And so we were moving into a direction that favors the faster combat. Um, but it was a hard decision. I don't think that there's a necessarily a right answer on that. We just felt that like we could bring more to monks and monk archetypes if we weren't beholden to this old system that tends to fall down once the game gets faster, if that makes sense.
and so MRL says, so then why remove the combos instead of reworking them? That was addressed in that initial post a little bit, which is it ultimately came down to we have X amount of development time to work on Monk. We can either just do that one piece, or we can do a more holistic look at the class as a whole. And we opted for the latter rather than the former.
Right. So the removing of the combos, even if we boosted them, it still runs into a problem where if you don't have them on demand, you can lose a lot of opportunities for doing them. Well, our goal isn't to take stuff away. Our goal is to move those finishing combos into abilities that you can use on demand at cooldown without a build up. The thing that we don't want is we don't want you to have to sit there and use less exciting stuff to build up. We don't want you to be able to just spam finishing moves, we do want a feeling where you can use it on demand so that you can kind of open up. A lot of the GDO gameplay revolves around initial burst, and the monks were being left behind as other people ran up and did initial burst, and then the monk is still building up, and then everything is dead. Obviously, that's not an issue on bosses as much, but like on normal play, that was it. So we went. That's where we went to. That's our thought process behind the scenes as we're sharing information with players and looking into it.
I assume we don't want to talk about the next expansion yet. That'll be in the roadmap, if anything, right?
Yeah. So if you want to talk about Dragon Disciple stuff, like specifics like DCs using Sunder and all of that stuff, I think that's a great discussion for the forums, but it's a little too focused to get into a deep delve of that specific class in this. I mean, we could talk about Dragon Disciple for the next 45 minutes, and like there will be a lot of players that just won't be that interested. So I don't mind touching on it, but deep diving into the specific mechanics, that's best doing in the playtest threads.
I've seen your comment, Chris the Missword, about uncommon collectibles being added to the VIP crafting material token. That's something that we'll be taking a look at here in the future. We've seen that feedback about how the crafting material, you want it to be the other kind, and we'll see what we can do there. But I don't know that we can answer that question today. We're giving for the, if I've got it right in my head, we're giving the bound ingredients and they want the unbound ingredients. So
I don't have news on the hardcore season, and I'll tell you why. One of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to have we do want something where players have a reason to get challenged in hardcore, but we don't like the fact that it sequesters them on their own server. And what we've been exploring is, can we do a hardcore season, but on the main servers? With the hardcore players can be helped by friends, but they can't trade gear in and get boosted, so it becomes trivial. And that's the kind of thing that we're looking for future hardcore seasons. But whether we're going to do that or go back to a traditional server, we don't know. But if you're wondering kind of why the hardcore seasons, like we haven't made announcement on there, those are the decisions that we're discussing behind the scenes on how do we want to implement this? What would be the best for that? So that's about kind of the hardcore discussion that we're having.
okay, I may have flipped the Kenneth crafting thing, but that's the point still stands. Yeah.
I'm not announcing anything beyond for archetypes beyond what we currently have in the works, which is the next new monk one. But we love doing archetypes, and we love barbarians, so that's certainly not off the table. I wouldn't say that Cormier is going to be designated as an event server. I think that after this is done, we're going to be kind of looking at it, and hopefully the players will continue playing on it as they are and develop their own community on it. So. A new room for better combat feedback that allows critical hits, etc. So we have some challenges on the guild airships in terms of performance. And so until we can address those, we would not be, I doubt we would be creating a new room that encourages the players to have access to all of their abilities on that until we can fix that. So that's the hold up for that. We are still working on the past lives of Dragon Disciple, and so I kind of don't want to go into that and either cause much beloved and then disappointment reactions or worse, panic.
I don't know, would it matter if it was a combat room quest as opposed to something on a guild airship? It might. some kind of room like quest that doesn't give XP but just lets you beat up a pillar or something like that.
So you don't have to use the hobgoblin as
Yeah,
your
yeah,
I forget his name, the hobgoblin that we all used to use for DPS tests.
yeah, yeah. So Sardonic, I believe, asked this earlier too, but we wants to know there were some changes done recently that caused some pathing behavior, and both some monsters and hirelings going brain dead. Do we know what's up there and what we're planning to do short term? Is that on your radar?
It is. So part of the problem we've gotten working there is some of the brain dead was was issues with lag. And so the reason we haven't worked on it is because we haven't found enough instances of it on Cormier to rep it on our side, right? All the talk about it is anecdotal, and we've been really working on other stuff. So now that Cormier is, if you see that happening on Cormier and eventually other 64-bit servers, and you can get us a loc or some kind of repro or any more information on that, we would be completely, you know, we would benefit from it and be very thankful to you.
This is probably a longer term kind of project, but what are we thinking in terms of a future Reaper difficulty update?
That's a longer term project that I want to look into once we kind of get through there. We definitely want to do a Reaper update. I know that people have been asking for it, and we have some pretty good evil ideas to not only make it better, but maybe give players new challenges. But I don't want to bring that on because that's the kind of thing that will come back when people are like, I thought you said, uh, you were going to do this." But we definitely want to look into that.
Ice is a rock. Certainly, I think the most helpful thing would be a bug report with specifics, and yeah, like a link to a video or something could certainly help the team sort of identify the issue.
Yeah. Uh, for Ice is a Rock, both on the 64-bit, having it on Cormier on the 64-bit cuts out some of the noise that we were seeing that made it difficult to track down. So, um, yeah. I don't have any information on the adding to the Wild Mage table. It might be that there was some stuff that, we had to cut because of implementation time in order to get Myth Draenor and that we can revisit. I'll ask the team about that. We definitely want to do a cosmetic specific bank. That has been on my radar, but it just keeps getting pushed off. And right now, we're working on transfer stuff, but a cosmetic specific bank so that you can get all the cosmetics you want and then put them into a bank, and then do that is definitely something I would like to do. I think that the Reapers are, let's see, I mean, eventually, as part of the Reaper event, we might revisit Reapers. So that's one of the things that you can make a suggestion for.
I don't know, Big Deeps, whether or not though we really do want to incentivize earning 156 Reaper points. I think we're both aware that there are some number of players who have done that, but that was purely an optional decision with no benefit in game. And deciding to award a benefit for that is a tricky business.
I understand that there are some high-end Reaper people that have reached the end of the Reaper reward line and would love to be able to do that because so one of the things that our players love doing is some of them have these mains that have all of this stuff and they're looking for the new rewards, and we want to provide that. Part of the Reaper revamp would be giving you new rewards, new challenges as part of that. Not undoing what you currently have, although we may change it, just because the tree setup isn't performant very much. But for that. Scroll cases and potion bags was a tech issue that we ran into. I believe dragging from them, if I remember correctly. You can picture the lantern event is kind of taking the place of the hardcore season right now. So, but I don't want to say never, because we're still discussing what hardcore will look like in the future, essentially. Yeah, I don't want to say that we're not going to add stuff to getting to high cool Reaper points. It's just that we'll be looking at that when we do the Reaper revamp. We're not saying no.
It's just the system itself capped out well below that number. And so people who continue to earn Reaper points earned them well beyond what the tree supported itself. And so there's always been a bit of a challenge of, hey, you did twice what you needed to, or maybe an extra third or 40% what you needed to. And do we want to encourage others to go through that process?
Yeah. It's not possible to create a cosmetic bag. It is possible to create a cosmetic bank, because the bank retains information about the item, whereas a bag does not. I don't know if you understand the distinction, but it's a slight, how they work is slightly different.
Ooh, level 34 hirelings when? At vendors?
Oh, we do have to do hirelings, yeah. That's a good thing.
Who's going to replace Bulwark for that level 30 cleric? That's what I want to know. We need to make a level 34 cleric.
Any ETA on the 64-bit migration? Let's see how Cormier performs with a lot more people on it before we start talking about the new 64-bit servers. I'm pretty happy with Cormier, but we haven't seen Cormier at like 1,800 people.
We have plenty of time for your questions actually here, so I don't know. Maybe we've already maybe we've been explaining too much, or it's also that the producer's letter is not out yet, so a lot of the roadmap of the year is not quite ready to talk about. Have we given thought about when we may be able to update the Kenneth crafting system to have a new tier of stuff?
Update level 34? We know we need to do that. I don't know when that's going to come, not this month or the next month, because we've stacked up stuff that we need to do currently. But at some point, we definitely need to update Kenneth crafting to get there. The racial SLAs that break from hitting CL 40+, that fix, I have to check. I want to make sure that there's a ticket on that. I don't know that I remember a ticket in our triage on that. Let me write that down. Actually, I don't know if that one is on our radar. Sorry.
Yeah, that'll be a question for the systems folks early.
Yeah. Dragon Disciples Past Life is being worked on, yes. I'm glad people are happy on Cormier, at least in terms of the progression. I'm just happy. I'm trying to bring as much. The awesome thing about Cormier and the eventual addition of new servers is they are expensive for us, but it's just so nice, right? like we're part of a company that's investing into these games, and to be getting new hardware and extended memory, and then have and see the fruition of all the work of like literally 2.5 years of the engineers doing stuff and collaborating and doing all of that. It's so nice to be part of a company that's showing investment in these old games. I'm really kind of, I feel blessed on that, because we have such a good player base, and I really want to bring them the best experience possible. And so, being identifying the lag problems and then working on these solutions for these older games, and then seeing it come on fruition on Cormier, and knowing that like once Cormier is showing you want to improving that on a Cormier, that we can continue investing into the game to bring it to players on servers they can transfer on. It's just uh, yeah, it's just great. I'm very happy to be working on that, and bringing that technology to you.
I don't know about the bottle of mist being brought into the store. That's a frequent request by people here on the live stream, that they would like to either see us bring back the Ravenloft Ultimate Edition so that they can get the bottle of mist, or put the bottle of mist available in the store somehow so that they can get that. That's a frequent one that comes up here, and at some point we'll be able to get that done. But I have not heard anything.
Sorry, I'm taking notes from chat on stuff that I'm not sure if we have a ticket on, like that Avard's thing. You
Mhm.
don't want a friendly fire server. That's one of the things that we were joking about, is having a server where the players had to deal with friendly fire. You couldn't just fireball your friends. But man, the trolling on that, I don't know that we'd want to deal with that.
It'd be fun for a day. It'd be fun for a day. All the friendly fire.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you know about that disconnected from chat bug? When is that going to
Oh,
go away?
oh my God. Yeah, we're not seeing it locally. It's
Yeah.
hard to reproduce, and the chats are their own. The chat stuff is its own DLL. So that is something that we definitely want to look at. Are you still seeing it on Cormier, the disconnected from chat bug?
I don't. I would need to start paying attention. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that might be a lag issue, and we haven't seen it on Cormier. So one of the things we want to see is if we start seeing it on the 64-bit servers, and it turns out that it's not, the game lags and then the chat times out, then we will want to look at it. But I don't want to spend precious engineering time to look at it when it's just going to go away once we're on 64-bit. Have you guys ever heard of the Frankenstein monster from Ravenloft? Yeah, Lamortia. Absolutely. I like the vibe. I don't know if I like the uh, specific stuff, but yeah, Lamortia is hot. One of the best Ravenloft things outside of Strahd themselves. Absolutely.
Dark Wolfer has brought up in chat a couple of times. What about the idea of a level sync? The idea that would be like some kind of way that a level 20 character could downscale to play with their level 5 friend. Something like that.
Yeah, I think that's a super good idea. We've discussed it before. I would love to do it, because I think that one of the weaknesses of both our games is that it's hard to play with your friends. DDO, it's less of a problem because people are constantly in the TR loop. People tend to have a lot of alts, and so the chance of you, at least in my circles, the chance of me having someone close enough to a friend is higher. But we would love a sidekicking or a a mentoring system where you join a group and you get boosted up to the mentor's level. Unfortunately, when you do that, that requires a whole bunch of behind the scenes auto scaling math, and there's a couple things about DDL that makes that extremely difficult. One is that it's not smooth scaling. We have deliberate places where the scaling jumps so that you have to really go like between the tiers of difficulty. I mean the level tiers and such. So you can't provide you wouldn't be able to do a smooth uh, thing, and also like the disparity in player power from other things like TRs and stuff also complicates that. So that would be very hard to do in DDO, like very hard. There are a number of complicated things, and then those people would still have to be geared properly, or we'd have to scale gear, and then we wouldn't want a situation where you're more powerful as a fifth level character scaled up because you don't really need that much gear than you are a mid-geared character who's at that level. So there's a lot of issues there, and behind the scenes, since DDO does not have the same kind of like smooth level scaling that some other games have, it would be very difficult.
On the plus side, we have veteran status and iconics. So 4, 7, and 15 are possibilities to quick roll to play with a friend.
Yeah.
Can we please not ever have items rare to the level of Myth Draenor again? Question mark.
The rarity that our normal packs will have are actually like the rat pack. Myth Draenor Myth Draenor rarity. How can I put this? It was complicated by the fact that it there was more loot than normal, and so some of the stuff felt a little punishing to do. The Rat Pack is more of an indication of where we're going in the future in terms of rarity, if that makes sense.
Quick translation. Rat Pack is Fall of the Night Brigade.
Fall of the Night. I'm sorry, I shouldn't. Yeah, I should use the official. It's one of the Fall of the Night Brigade. My bad. We probably. I don't have any information about the Thunderforge weapons specifically. Um, Revisiting Warforged, that is something that I would love to do a race pass at some point, and that's something that we can do when we do the race pass. Um, but we don't have that right on the immediate radar. Yeah, definitely. We definitely don't want quick swapping into full item sets because it's hard on the server when you change out all of your gear to reconfigure your whole character. So
And then you get into
we
this
don't want
weird
to
meta
encourage
where
doing
people are
that.
like, you encourage /
Yeah.
ask to swap midway between things, and it's just,
Or worse, midway in the boss. Like what
yeah.
happens is they'll swap a whole set and then do an ability with a dot or something, or heal and then swap back to start DPSing again. Yeah, no, we certainly don't want that meta.
I don't know, Axel, if it's technologically possible to remove death timers once the quest raid is completed. Right now, people have to wait the minute or so before they can get themselves rezzed because of a death timer while in Reaper. So I don't know if we can just sort of like auto freshen them up once the raid's completed or not.
Yeah, that's I mean, because in raids, I could see that. I'm like, are you really hitting that where like you finish a Reaper quest and like half the party's dead? But like, yeah, on raids, yeah, I wasn't thinking of raids. That makes sense. I don't know that we have the tech to do that. The problem is when you start doing stuff like that, the halo can be such that like all of a sudden you mess up and there's no raid timer and they're just auto resing everyone and um, yeah. Two-factor authentication is in the works, but got pushed back due to the perf issues and due to we ran into launcher issues that complicated it. And So so for two-factor authentication to work, we needed to update the store, which we've done. We need to update the forums, which we've done, and we need to update the launcher, which we haven't done. And then even then, we have a lot of work because the two-factor authentication then has to be put into all bits of that. So the plan. We are slowly moving towards it, but if you haven't seen information on it, that's why. We definitely want to do a kobold race at some point, but it's just, there's just other things that are down. I think the players have been looking for a kobold race. I don't know that a Froggo race
Oh, Bullywug
would be
Race? I think that
something.
would be cool. I'd
Bullywug?
definitely play
You don't
one of
think
them.
so?
Yeah, I would.
The artists
I'd be down.
the artists still want to do Turtle.
I'd be okay with that, I guess. They're in the
Yeah.
books, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I do know the theme of the next cosmetic bundle, but I'm definitely not telling you, not in this chat. You're gonna have to wait on that. Sorry. Pixie race, man, it would be sad though to have a pixie race, but still have the physics pill the same size, and so things that look like they're going to miss you just like hit you.
So, Venny, I know what you're talking about in regards to a double strike change from a few years back. Writing asking us, would that still have to happen if DDO was already on 64-bit servers? And I think the answer is yes. That was a performance
Yeah,
fix
absolutely.
that had to happen. And so you wouldn't want to introduce more lag just because you could, even if you saw an improvement in it, right?
Yeah, part of the reason that Cormyr is performant now is that we've been going through and we've been going through for like 3 years and taking out the things that could potentially back up on a server like that. And the double strike was one of those. So we wouldn't. Uh, yeah, what Cordovan said. A lot of these changes have been leading up to that. I think at some point we need to do Goliath since it's in the new player's handbook. So that I'm looking forward to. I would love to do that. It's just hard because we don't want the players to have a race that feels like it's at a disadvantage. So I think the Goliath wouldn't be quite as big as that players would like assume they would be. It'd probably be like Warforged size just to avoid issues.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Seb, but Arthur even wants to know about race restrictions on Iconics armor. And my understanding is that's because that armor is typically built for a certain body rig for that Iconic. And so if you were going to have different versions of that armor, you'd be making, somewhere 6 to a dozen different other armors on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah, the class material components bag, we ran into a problem where the spell system, which is way too complex for this game, would have to actually know how to dip into the bag, and it was like, oh my god, like touching this code is going to take us a month. So that's why there hasn't been a class material components bag. All right, producer's letters coming. I didn't say next week, but that was a nice try. I like that. So producer's letter next week. Seb said so, and then all of a sudden everyone's mad at me. I like that. That's good.
Well, I think we're mostly where we need to be. We do have a few minutes yet. Let me just call out quick that we are planning to do a small bug fix patch for next Wednesday. As part of that downtime, that'll be update 71.2. We'll have release notes next week on that. The new Year of the Dragon gift debuts next week as well. So that's a cosmetic armor set that you'll be able to pick up. We'll have a website and article about that next Wednesday when it's ready to go. So that means this is your last weekend to pick up the dragon footprints. So do that. The Dragon Aura footprints if you haven't done that yet. This is your final weekend for that. Or you could wait until we bring it back on Cormier, I guess.
Yeah. I think I saw that Zoforian was asking for more elf races, so I'm sure we'll come up with some more elf races for you.
I think they're joking, but maybe not. We've done a few. There are not new items in Snow Peaks. However, Snow Peaks will be back next Wednesday as well.
Nice. All right.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Seb, for joining me here today. I really do appreciate it. And we'll see you probably within a couple of months here again on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Let me do that. Do that. And see what we want to do for the final couple minutes of the show. Thanks for watching. This is on YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, giving us a like or a subscribe does help us out actually a lot. And thank you for being a part of the chat on Twitch. I don't know if I've really got any final words to say. I think we pretty much covered it all. So I really appreciate your questions, and we did the best we could to give you the best answers we could. Quick programming note, I will not be here next Friday. So I will see you in 2 weeks on DDO stream. So I got a thing I'm doing in my own life next Friday. So I won't be here, but I'll be here in 2 weeks for more Fridays at 4 on twitch.tv/DDO stream. See y'all. Have fun.